for students to start making 7th. I think if there's anything, Huduma centers, and we tell them that the best place or the most trusted cyber cafe is that under the Huduma Center. So they are our great partners. We also worked with most of the institutions in this room today. We had 163 training institutions across the country where we sent out our staff or engaged you to help us in the revision exercise. We also had various staff. You may be aware that for the TVET institutions, we have already given you the list of students who are in your institutions. We did this so that we can facilitate the students who are coming in May to be able to prepare in good time. So we released for the TVET institutions. We also released for KMTC to allow students going in for the March class. For KMTC, we have another class in September 2024. We will use the same, we will go back to our database. So those who may not have secured a place in KMTC, and they had only made an application, this is the 2023 class, that did not make a university application and only went for KMTC and are not going to be successful. We will consider them for the September class at no extra payment. For those that applied for TVET, we also have another class in September, and we have another cohort going on in January. So we have 3 cycles for TVET institutions. So those who may not have been successful, there is still an opportunity for them. As we go along, we've realized we have to keep adjusting our release, how we release, so that we can facilitate the institutions to get their students in good time, and the students to also make their arrangements in terms of school fees and other personal things that they need to do in good time before they can join the institutions. Now, in terms of the placement, I will just give an overall. We have discussed this before in terms of how we want to release, and we say that what your institution gets is your personal information, and therefore you will get that from the system, like I said, and also as we step out. But in general, this is how we've placed the students. Those that we have placed into diploma secondary teacher training, I say those were just the 3 institutions. We have 734 students. For Ministry of Education TVET institution, we had 63,921. Now I have put a star there because we allow students to also walk into the institutions of their choice, the TVET institutions, and then we validate them later. So when I put a star there, it means we are still receiving the students who have walked in. We are yet to validate them, and this number will go up once we validate the category we call walk-ins. So we expect this number to be more than double. Last year we had 135,000. So this number is definitely going to, most likely triple. For non-MOE TVETs, those that I mentioned, we have 3,963. For private universities, where we had 57,000 capacities, those that have selected private universities are 18,558. Those placed in public universities, we have 134,000 743. For students that have opted to join the universities at a TVET level, we have 7,834. And then those that opted to go to KMTC, we have 19,653. For teacher trainings in primary, we have 9,529. So we've made some observations this year. Like I said, 85% of C+ and above made the applications, and 76.2 opted for degree courses, while the rest, which is about 11,991, opted to go for diploma. So I will be handing over the 76%. That's about 153,000 students to my brother, Mr. Munari, UFB, to start the process of funding, and also Mr. Ringera to start offering the loans to the students. Hopefully they can do this in good time, so that by the time the students are, by August, all students should have settled into their institutions of their choice. We will also give the students an opportunity to make their transfers. We will be opening a system from the 5th of June to allow those students who wish to make their transfers to do that. I have also learned from UFB that they will also open the system around June, so that those who are not transferring can start applying for scholarships. So by July, we are hopeful that the whole process will be over. We know there are students who report in August and others in September. So we hope to have a very seamless transition this year. We also made some observations in the way the students applied. Bachelor of Education. If you remember, we had some discussions around Bachelor of Education, both Education Science and Education Arts, where stakeholders felt that Kuccps needed to align with the TSC regulations on the minimum entry requirements. So when we had the stakeholders meeting, Kuccps was guided to align, which meant that we had to remove English and mathematics as requirements, and because TSC requires that you just have a C+ and 2 teaching subjects. And we had added maths and English in Bachelor of Education Arts. So when we removed this, we saw a lot of students apply for that. I think it has the highest. We have, I think, over 30,000 students have gone in to pursue education. Now, in terms of gender, the male applicants continue to dominate in placement. This is in degree programs. And that seems to have been the trend over the years, where we have more male applying for degree, and then more female students applying for TVET courses. Ladies and gentlemen, that's just a highlight of what we have done this year. We will have a session, a plenary session, once our chief guest has made his presentation, and we may be able to interact further on this. Thank you very much. So I now invite the chair again to take us to the next program.
Thank you very much, our Chief Executive, for that presentation of placement data for 2024. As you have said, we are going to have a session where we are going to discuss and answer questions which are coming from the floor, and also get suggestions. Now, we are going now to move to the next session, and on the chief guest, we want you, when you stand once, you finish all of them, so we want to now move to launching of the 2024-2028 strategic plan for Kuccps. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Kuccps has developed a strategic plan to align its operations to its mandate and proposed reforms in the education sector in the next 5 years. The strategic plan is a planning instrument designed to assist the service achieve its mandate by defining its strategic direction during the plan period, allocate and apply resources towards implementation of priority activities, and monitor their effectiveness. It is also a commitment to undertake its defined legal mandate and provide strategies that will manage any challenge and mitigate the impact of any anticipated or unforeseen risk. This is the second strategic plan since Kuccps was fully established on 31st January 2014, the first one having been formally developed in 2017 and implemented up to 2022. The board conducted an end of the term review of 2017-2022 strategic plan to assess its implementation progress and impact to its initial set targets. In addition to institutional capacity building by system and system setting, the first strategic plan also helped the service achieve various milestones, including successful undertaking of 7 placement cycles, staffing, publishing of inaugural career guidance book, and automating most of the services. All important lessons which you have learned and the experiences have been taken into account and incorporated in the new development plan. The development of this strategic or the second strategic plan has been undertaken in compliance with the Kenyan government guidelines for preparation of the fifth generation strategic plan for ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs. Based on these guidelines, this strategic plan is aligned to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Vision 2030, the fourth medium-term plan MTA 4, 2023-2024 to 2027-2028, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, better plan, the education sector plan, existing legal frameworks, policies and regulations. Our vision and mission have been deliberately linked to strategic objectives geared towards realizing the mandate of the service. The plan is designed to align to sectoral operating environment, and its implementation will largely take into account our stakeholders' participation and their active engagement at all levels, good governance, and professional approach in doing business. The strategic plan framework is the basis for development departmental and individual head of departments' performance contracts and work plans that define the specific tasks for each staff in the implementation of the plan. As part of sustained and enhanced digitalization of placement service, fair, competitive, and efficient practices shall be espoused to catalyze creativity, innovation, to improve service delivery to our stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to mention that as a key step towards our commitment to incorporating requirements for sector policy shift in both primary and secondary education, it is during this plan period that Kuccps will undertake new and critical approaches to align career guidance programs and activities with the competency-based curriculum in order to commence preparation for CBC students who will be required to choose their career pathways in tertiary institutions during the next planned period. The strategic plan will therefore put in place strategies and initiatives that will enhance this alignment so that the lower classes students have opportunity to access career guidance skills based on the new competence-based curriculum. Strategic plan is also alive to performance challenges that may be encountered in the course of implementation of implementation. Such encounters shall be handled within the risk management framework already formulated and mitigation measures applied accordingly. However, the plan financial risk remains a major restraining factor. To foster commitment and motivation to successful implementation of this plan, the board will endeavor to provide the support and enabling environment for entire staff to realize the deployment, to realize and deploy their full potential. This strategic plan contains a comprehensive implementation matrix with the performance measurable indicators. This is followed by a monitoring and evaluation framework to assess fulfillment of strategic goals and ensure that each activity performance meets its expected threshold. I wish to thank the management, me as the chairman of the board, and specifically the chief executive and the management team for the excellent work they did during this preparation of the plan and putting it into its final form. The numerous consultation with the board and all Kuccps stakeholders was invaluable to the quality of content and appearance. I pledge my personal and board commitment to ensuring successful implementation of Kuccps 2024-2028 strategic plan. I also wish to encourage the board and staff members to adhere to the principles of corporate governance in the course of implementing this plan in order to achieve the mission and goals of the placement service. At this juncture, I will have the pleasure to ask the chief guest, but before I ask the chief guest to come and do the releasing of the strategic plan and the placement report, I would like to ask the representative of the PS of TVET, Dr. Apora, to come please and make some comments before we ask the chief guest, Mr. Friendlick Ndambuki, to come and make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair of the Council of Kuccps. Our chief guest today, Mr. Frederick Ndambuki, representing the Cabinet Secretary for Education, the council members that are here, CEOs, vice chancellors, principals of colleges, senior government officials, and all the stakeholders. Good morning. Yes, I'm pleased to join you in this special occasion for release of the 2023 placement report, as well as the launching of the Kuccps strategic plan. At the State Department for TVET, we have benefited a lot from Kuccps, and our department is a cornerstone of the Kenya's education framework that providing essential skills and knowledge to empower our workforce. Central to the success and advancement of this subsector, we are working closely with the Kuccps, because Kuccps is the one that is doing the placement in our institutions. The partnership between the State Department and the Kuccps has been instrumental in ensuring a seamless placement which is effective, and also implementation of the new funding model. Kuccps have really supported the TVETs during the placement, and has made the funding model, the implementation, very efficient, because they are providing the necessary information that is required in the TVET. They are from the programs fostering a robust educational environment that meets the evolving needs of the trainees. I want to also say specifically what Kuccps have done in the TVET sector, that we are proud of them. Kuccps have been instrumental on overseeing the placement of trainees and confirming the eligibility. This has aided the State Department to ensure no trainee miss out on the government funding. Secondly, this has been achieved by ensuring timely provision of validated data, which come from Kuccps, of course, and which has led to efficiency in capitation and also scholarship disbursements in the TVETs. Their reliability has built trust among stakeholders and ensures that financial resources are appropriately allocated to benefit our students. Kuccps' efforts in providing career guidance on TVET courses have significantly boosted enrollment rates in our institutions. Collaboration between the State Department for TVET, Kuccps, and other stakeholders is very essential in ensuring the relevance and the attractiveness of the TVET programs. Yes, we have had some challenges, but I'm happy that the strategic plan that is being launched today will handle those challenges, and we shall have even more effective implementation of TVET program. For example, in the placement service, we have a category of TVET artisans who are working in the TVET institutions, but they do not have a KCSE certificate. And these people normally miss out from the funding. And we believe that probably this one will be looked at because they are sitting together doing the same artisan, but because they have not passed through the Kuccps, we don't fund them. we are going to look for that. Another issue that we want also to be improved, which I know Kuccps is working on very well, is the issue of people who walk in the TVET programs. Most of the students that we have in the TVET have walked in the institutions, and what we normally do, we ask our institutions to work with the Kuccps to ensure that the data is validated so that we can use that data for funding them. So this is an area again that we shall look at. And a final area is the special needs. In the TVET system, we have special needs students in our TVETs, but they are never placed. So again, we may want to find a way on how do we work together, what we do, so that also the special needs people can also be placed. Otherwise, I want to register our appreciation for working together with Kuccps and the successes that we have had as we do so. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Apora. Now, it is my duty now to call our chief guest, Mr. Frederick Ndambuki, who is representing the CS for State Department for Education, Mr. Ezekiel Machogu, who is out of the country. So now it's a pleasure to ask you to come, please, and do the needful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Chair of the Board of Kuccps, Cyrus Gitwai. Cyrus Gitwai is somebody known to me for many, many years. And I'm happy and pleased to be here on behalf of the Minister of Education, while representing the CS, the Honorable Dr. Ezekiel Machogu, and also at the same time representing my PS, Dr. Beatrice Inyangala, the PS in charge of the State Department for Higher Education and Research. Both the CS and the PS are out of the country on official duties. And therefore, this morning, the CS requested me to come and deliver a speech during this great occasion of the release of comprehensive reports of 2024-2025 placement of students, and at the same time launching the Kuccps Strategic Plan 2023-2024, 2027-2028. The representative of the Principal Secretary in the State Department, TVET, Dr. Opora, the CEO, Kuccps, Dr. Agnes Mercy Waome, the CEOs from various government agencies, vice chancellors and principals of various colleges, senior minister officials, members of the state, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning, all of you. Yeah, this is a great day. And as you have been told, I'm Frederick Ndambuki, Secretary of Administration in the Ministry of Education in the State Department for Higher Education and Research. Greetings to you all. I am delighted to officiate this important exercise. We have received presentations by the Placement Board Chairman, Mr. Cyrus Gitwai, and the CEO, Kuccps, Dr. Agnes Masiwaome. They have given us the board's vision for the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service and provided insights on the 2024 placement of students to various universities and colleges. The highlight of this forum will be the launch of the Kuccps 2023-2027 strategic plan, and also equally the release of the 2024-2025 placement cycle report. First, I would like to make the following remarks. Many lessons can be picked up from the story of Kuccps, notably the understanding growth of the organization. It has taken a clear vision, a commitment of a board as well as professional and efficient staff to grow Kuccps to what it is today. I encourage the board to remain committed to the vision of equitable, fair, and efficient placement service. The Ministry of Education will continue to support the board to achieve its mission of providing effective and efficient placement and career guidance services to students for globally competitive human capital and sustainable socioeconomic development of our country, Kenya. Over the years, thousands of students have looked upon Kuccps as an equitable and a fair provider of access to higher education and training. I am happy to note that Kuccps has lived up to this expectation, and I'm confident that new strategic plan which we are going to launch will continue to maintain the high standards that Kuccps has been able to set. Besides the strategic plan, I would like to share with Kenyans the outcome of the 2024 student placement process, which covers students who submitted applications for various programs in universities and colleges. May I give the analysis of the 2023 KCSE examination results? Following the release of the 2023 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, KCSE, examination results, the Kenya National Examinations Council, NEC, provided performance data of 895,232 candidates to Kuccps. Of these, 890,654 are Kenyan citizens who are eligible for placement. An analysis of the data indicates that 201,146, which is about 22.5%, of the students attained a mini grade of C+ and above, hence meeting the minimum requirement for placement to degree programs. The remaining 694,086, which is about 77.5%, attained a mini grades of between C and E, and were eligible for placement to diploma, craft, and artisan programs in TVET institutions. With the approval of the Higher Education and Training Regulators, the Commission for University Education, CUE, and the Technical and Vocational Education and Training, TVET Authority, Kuccps provided courses offered in 70 universities, 35 teacher training colleges, 88 Kenya Medical Training College or college campuses, and 248 public TVET colleges. The cumulative approved capacities in these institutions was 1,078,806, comprising 278 and 6 in university's degree, and another 769,820 in TVET colleges and institutes. 13,808 were placed in teacher training colleges, TTCs, and 17,172 in Kenya Medical Training Colleges. Placement to universities. Processing of placement applications considers applicants' choices and their qualifications, as well as available capacities. A total of 153,274 students have been placed to various degree programs in universities, accounting for 76.2% of the 146 Kenyan students who qualified. It should be noted that application for Open University of Kenya, OUK, programs continues on the Kuccps portal. I urge all Kenyans who wish to further their studies to take advantage of the flexibility provided by the OUK and enroll for its globally competitive programs. Equally, a total of 75,718 applicants have secured places in TVET institutions, including 11,991 who qualified for degree programs but opted for diploma courses. With regard to the Kenya Medical Training College, KMTC, 56,506 individuals applied, and out of that number, 19,653 were placed as per available slots. A total of 10,263 applicants secured admission places in the teacher training colleges for diploma programs. These comprise 734 who have been placed in diploma in secondary teacher education program. 9,529 are in diploma in primary teacher education. Guided by the affirmative action plan policy, the Kuccps placement process gives special consideration to eligible applicants on account of gender, marginalized and minority, and also the aspect of disability. Beneficiaries of placement by affirmative action must satisfy minimum subject requirements of the programs they want to pursue. Of the 2023 KCSE candidates, a total of 2,452 students benefited from placement by affirmative action. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's placement process was a more laborious one compared with previous years. It was the first time that Kuccps placed students to universities, TVET institutions, KMTC, and TTCs within a single process. I commend the Kuccps board, management, and staff for a job well done. Please, a clap for Kuccps. Following the successful completion of the placement process, I direct Kuccps to immediately inform the applicants of their placement results. Further, I direct vice chancellors and the principals of colleges where students have been placed to engage their prospective students, parents, and guardians and inform them of the reporting dates and other joining instructions without delay. I want to believe these instructions are going to be received well by the heads of those institutions. And I'm happy I can see Professor Kiama here for University of Nairobi and the rest of the physics who are present. I'm sure we'll be able to follow through and ensure that we do our best in assisting those students and also giving the right information at the right time so that we can have seamless joining of those students in the various institutions. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to perform my humble duty on behalf of the CS and the Minister of Education of the Twin Lodge, releasing the 2024 placement reports and also unveiling the 2023, 2024, 2027, 2028 Kuccps strategic plan. I therefore declare that the 2024 placement report and the Kuccps strategic plan are officially lodged. Thank you very much. Yes, I now ask the Kuccps board to be able to guide in the next activity. Thank you.
Great. Another one round of applause for our chief guest. I will now request the chief guest and the board to approach on my left side. We shall cut the ribbon as an official unveiling. And I will give a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You will cut the ribbon, and upon cutting the ribbon, I will request that you take a step back so for the fireworks to take effect. So I will count. In the count of 5, please proceed to cut the ribbon and then take a step back for the fireworks. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Please give a warm round of applause. Please step back as we, very well done, very well done. And placement report on the strategic plan. please join us for the plenary. Now allow me to give some instructions as to how we are going to do the plenary. In front of you, you have a microphone. In front of you, you have a microphone. They will soon be turned on, but only turn your microphone on when you're speaking. So you press the speaker. There is a label on the microphone, speak. So you turn it on when you have a question to ask. Once you're done with the question, kindly turn it off. I seek your indulgence. Whenever you have a question, kindly press the speaker on your delegate's unit. Once it turns on, it will show a red light. Speak, ask your question or comment. Once you're done, once again, press the same button of speaker to switch it off to avoid any interruptions. So ladies and gentlemen, at this point, the floor is open for your questions, and we will take them as they come. Once you ask your question, please, if you have a specific panelist that you want to address it, by all means, you can direct it to the panelist that you wish to address your question. So as for now, the plenary is open. Kindly, as you receive the strategic plan, I believe everyone will have a copy of the strategic plan. As you receive, kindly ask your question. Once you are ready with a question, raise your hand, I will pick you, press the speaker, ask, and then we shall proceed from there. I will start from here, right at the front.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Barasa, VC Alupe University. I'm keen to know from Dr. Massey if there was a conversation about a C+ for diploma secondary school training, because that conversation obtained a lot during the education reform process, and there was a proposal that to keep the diploma colleges afloat, there was a need to reduce that grade to a C. I don't know whether that conversation went on and how you arrived back to where we were, which is a C+, which is a cause of low numbers in the diploma secondary school teacher colleges. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take 6 questions. I'll go. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. Walter Kuno, the chairman of the Association of Academic Registrars that brings together registrars in the universities, both public and private. Now, my concern is about the TVETs diploma students in the universities. Indeed, it's saddening to see, even though Kuccps has continued to place them in the universities, incidentally, they are unable to apply for the scholarship and also the bursary. And we feel this may be a bit unfair to these students. They are Kenyans and they deserve to be considered. Please, is there any position about this? Thank you.
Right, thank you. If you have a question, raise your hand so that I can see you. There's a gentleman to my left. Yes, please.
I believe my question is directed to Bwana Monari. We've already placed the students today, but now the question comes to those who never applied for reasons very well known to them. What duration are you giving them as to have them also apply and be placed? I'm Shadrach Kamundi from Baraton. Thank you.
Next question? Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Maithia from Kuccps, an institution which is not in the Ministry of Education. And we also have the same problem of sponsorship for students that are posted to us. So our students are suffering because they are not getting a chance to apply for scholarship. Thank you.
Right, there was a hand next to you. Yes, please.
Thank you. Jacqueline from Kibabi University. My question goes to the CEO, Kuccps. Why did we open a placement from 2000 to 2024, then go ahead, restrict those students to TVET?
Right. The last question on this round of questions. There's a hand at the very far left, my far left. Can you proceed? Press the...
I'm called Patricia Ekadeli from Bishop Mahon Teacher Training College, Turkana.
My apologies. I request that you move closer to the microphone. Thank you.
I've said that I'm called Patricia Ekadeli. For this particular meeting, I had 3 parents from the remotest area of the country, or of Turkana County, who said that the children tried to apply and they could not go through. Now, I hope that they will still have a chance to apply to the various institutions and get admission. That is just a concern that I'm hearing, because some areas are not privileged with internet access. We have, of course, that Huduma Center, but it is kind of every time, personally, if I go there, oh, we don't have, internet, we don't have electricity and that kind of thing. So I'm just trying to say, kindly, for those who are challenged and are not privileged on this internet, if they can be given another consideration, especially for the September intake. Thank you.
Right, so I will request my panelists to take the 6 questions, then we shall go to the next round of questions. So over to you, panelists.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the questions. I want to start with a question from Professor Baraza of Alupe on the minimum requirement for diploma secondary, which is a C+. This is determined by the TSC regulations. It is in their regulations. So what we did was to align with the regulation. So currently the placement of students to the various colleges and universities is as per the TSC regulations. So what they are doing, they are in the process of changing the regulations, especially for degree. I cannot speak for the diploma, so if they maintain the C+, unfortunately, we will have to maintain the C+. We were able to also work with the State Department for Basic to remove the subject requirements for the primary, because at least that we have, we can go by the regulations and say this is what is there. I would wish the second question to be responded to by Dr. Opora on the lack of funding to TVET students in the universities. And I think the same for TVET students at Kuccps. Dr. Opora, please.
Okay, thank you very much. To answer that question, I want to say that the government is establishing a TVET institution in every constituency, and a lot of funding in terms of equipping is being done in those institutions. And also, there are so many spaces in those institutions that are being funded by government, a lot of them. In terms of funding for those TVETs in the universities, I want you to remember that the Presidential Working Party on the educational reforms clearly stated that the university should concentrate on the degree programs, or not TVETs. And therefore, we consider those that are already having the TVETs as their own private institutions, but not the core mandate. That's in accordance with the Presidential Working Report on educational reforms. And this issue has been handled at a very high level, and the CS has pronounced himself and asked all the universities to concentrate on their core mandate. So it cannot be a contradictory that you direct them to concentrate on their core mandate at the same time you fund. That would be a contradiction. And also now for the other institutions that are not in the Ministry of Education, the funding that is at HELP is a contribution from the Ministry of Education. Every ministry in this country has their own funding contributions. I want to say that the Ministry for Health have already done it, and they have collaborated with HELP, and now the students who are doing medical training are getting HELP loans because the Ministry of Health has done its part. So the rest of the ministry should follow suit and also collaborate with HELP so that the students in that ministry can also get access to funding. You also are aware also funding of the student is separated from the placement. The fact that you are being placed doesn't mean that automatic it's funding. It's the initiative of that ministry that will make you get funding if they collaborate with the HELP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Opora. There was also a question on the students who have been unable, who did not apply. Now, let me say that application to both universities and colleges is a choice. It is not mandatory, because we know there are students who choose to go abroad, to join the military, to join other universities and colleges that are not under the government program. But in the process, some students come later and say they were not able to apply for various reasons, including the lack of access, internet access, like our sister has said from Turkana, or as a student who was sick at the time of application. So we still do not lock them out. We look at their grades, we look at their cluster weight and see what programs they would have been able to go into. And then we also engage with the universities to see whether they can get a late application. In the last 2 years, when we started this process, we've been able to place about 500 students. Last year and the year before, the 2021 class, we placed about 500 students who for various reasons came up and said during the application process they were not available, or they had hoped to go abroad and they were not able to make it. Now, what we ensure is that they still are considered within the cutoff. We ensure that they meet the cutoffs for the programs that they wish to join, but also that the programs they wish to join, we have available capacities and the institutions accept them. So we go back as at least 2 years. If they come in within 2 years, we are able to support them. when it comes to those areas that have challenges, that is why we send our staff out. Like I made in the presentation, we had 163 centers. Turkana University was one of the revision centers where we sent our staff. We give them airtime to be able to use to help the students to apply. So in case there are areas that you still feel, even at the teacher training, where you can offer a place for staff to come in and help the students make their applications, we would be glad to partner in that. There was a question on why we are taking students for TVET from the year 2000. We are taking from 2000 to 2023 for TVET. This is just to allow more and more students to join the TVET institutions. However, we cannot do the same for university, because every year we allow the students from the last class of the KCSE to apply for university without bringing in any other class. Remember, the cutoffs are determined, or the cluster weight is determined by looking at the performance of that student against the student who sat that particular exam. So you cannot compare them with students who sat exams in previous years, because you will not be able to place them in a fair way. They have to compete within their category. That's why for university, we only place for that year. However, we are placing students for university programs in the Open University without a limit to how far back we can go. For TVETs, we still feel we have many TVET institutions. Like we said, we are placing in over 248 TVET institutions. We seem to have an apathy in the way the students with C and below, the way they apply. So we are still not at a level where we can say our TVET institutions, especially those under the Ministry of Education, have enough numbers to come up with another formula of placing them. So we go back as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will take the next set of questions. Please.
Thank you very much. My name is Paul Mwania from Lukenya University. A question to Dr. Vasi. Just a confirmation that all the students that were placed to universities applied to join those universities. That's one confirmation that I may want to get. Then from Munari, the other query is on funding of students in private universities. Previously, I think we didn't have students funded by the government. Is it now clear, because it has been in the media, that students will start getting funding, those that are placed in private universities? Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Right. There's the beautiful lady, then the gentleman, and you'll follow. Yeah.
Thank you. I am Jean Sera Gideji, Registrar, the Nyeri National Polytechnic, representing the Chief Principal. I want to appreciate, it's good to give credit where it deserves. We received the placement for TVET placement, and we are able to have our May intake. And another appreciation is that in the placement, this time you had given the contact for student and both for parent. So it also became easier for us to contact both the parent and the student. And you have also said that you are going to have these cycles, January, May, and September. So we also want to appreciate that, and also to appreciate that you also sent the SMS to the student that they have been admitted. Thank you.
My name is Frank Mukuna from the State Department of Tibet. My question is to the CEO of Kuccps, and it concerns the fate of artisan students who form a bulk of our walk-in admissions in Tibet institutions. Now, over the years since the inception of Kuccps, and also looking at the mandate of Kuccps, which is to place students, KCSE students into universities and Tibet institutions, you realize that it discriminates against those who do not have KCSE certificate, who are a majority, who form a majority of the artisan courses. Now, in doing that, we find a problem of not or discriminating against that cadre which form the bulk of the engineering profession, where one engineer should be to 2 technologists, to 4 technicians, and the last cadre in that particular equilibrium is 16 artisans or craftspersons who are eventually not funded because they do not have the KCSE certificate. Now, my question is, what strategies is Kuccps putting in place to be able to uptake this particular cadre so that our economy can move forward? Thank you.
Right, good question. Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm John Kiura, the Dean of Students, Meru National Polytechnic, representing the Chief Principal. My concern goes to Dr. Massey. You've placed 285,000 against 895. And I've noted we have quite a good number that are not able to apply because of that 1,500 application fee for placement. The fee might appear small for a middle income person, but for those that are in the village, that figure is not small. Could you consider revising that figure to a figure that is manageable for that group? Thank you.
Right, 2 more questions. There's a gentleman in a beautiful red tie.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Lidigu Sebastian Shikoli, the principal for Hamed Shahame Mwidani in Mombasa. My question is about placement. How possible is it that you can place 17 students of tourism in an institution that does not offer that course? That happened recently. And the principal of that institution was trying to look for teachers and facilities in relation to that course. So I'm just wondering, how possible is that? It happened, eh? It's a real case. Thank you.
Right, last question. I will pick the gentleman to the far right. Please ask your question. Then we can take this round and move to the next round of questions.
Thank you. I'm Kisa Jotham, Registrar Muraga, representing the principal. Now we are talking about placement, and we are aware that all the students did not apply for placement, therefore they are in the village, and the registrars are, particularly for TVET, they are mandated to do marketing and get those particular trainees. Now they're giving us a challenge of validation. We admit them, then it takes too long before they are validated, and therefore they take long also to apply for government scholarships. I'll want to request or ask the CEO, Kuccps, to see into it that once we have done the official launch like today, then we can have a continuous on-site validation of a trainee. A trainee walks to institution X, wants to do a course Y, which is available with the help of registrar, just as we apply for help. We take through that student into the application process, the index is checked, it is seen that was not placed, the trainee pays for whatever amount is paid, we place the code, then in a record time of 3, 4, 5 minutes, that student is validated and placed, and therefore can move on to the next level of applying for scholarship and Kuccps. The Kuccps site should be one or a supermarket, whereby it can run all those things at the same time, then keeping a lot of trainees unvalidated. And you also know that Kuccps has a shortage in terms of manpower. So we take along and we get frustrated, trainees don't get funding, and so on and so forth. So I'm requesting if we can have a robust system that can handle all these things in record time, so that we become now, we become agents of Kuccps when it comes to handling validation of students, particularly like for TVET. We know that at SAN, the grade is uniform, and so on and so forth. Unlike the university whereby they have to look at the cutoff. For us, we don't have the cutoff. So we can be allowed to become agents of Kuccps, enable Kuccps achieve its objectives of accessibility in real-time time. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe, Daktari, all the set of questions were directed to you, so kindly proceed to answer the questions. And if anyone on the panel is able to chime in, please do so. Daktari.
Thank you so much. Allow me to start with the last question, where you're recommending a continuous on-site validation of students. I can say that is something we are working on in terms of facilitating the system, the institution portal, to be able to validate. When you enter the student's index number, it validates immediately so that you're able to proceed, so that the process is real time. We do not have a challenge with staff because this is a system-generated process. What we also confirm is that that student is also not claimed by another institution. But with the new funding model, that wouldn't be a problem because we have now, we are delinking placement and funding. So the student may be claimed by various institutions, but it is only the student who can apply for funding and enter the institution which they belong to. Previously, it was a challenge because we had students being claimed by various institutions, and we know what that translates to when it goes to Dr. Opora. It means funding the student several times. The question from a gentleman from Ahmed Shamed. I would also be interested in knowing how 17 students ended up in an institution that doesn't offer the program. So we can have that discussion behind the tent. Because that is not a process, because they have to apply for the program, and the programs have to be cleared by TVETA before they can be on the system. There was the question on application fee. The application fee is determined by the board. Maybe the chair of the board would want to comment on the application fee of the 1,500 because that is a determination of the board. The 1,500 that which we charge for students. Yes, so there is a recommendation that we may want to consider lowering that or scrapping it. I know it has been a recommendation of many, but just to let you know that that is what we survive on.
Maybe I can say something about that. The 1,500 which we charge to applicants, it is part of our income on which we use to run our own activities as Kuccps. Of course, it is accounted for, And I don't think that's a lot of money really, but it may be to some people, of course, but everything has a cost. Well, we have had it, you can present it to the board, and maybe the board may make a decision, but I'm not promising anything. It has been the same amount since for a long time, and it has not been changed. So anything actually would have been to go up, not to go down. Maybe I can leave it at there.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Chair. There was a concern on the students who join institutions for TVET, for artisan programs and do not have the KCSE qualifications. There is a feeling that they are discriminated against. Now, for us to place, the starting point is getting the results from NEC. We have written to NEC severally, and what they have guided is that they are not in a position to give us all the results, because what we asked were the results for all the years for KCPE, the KCPE results. When we ask for KCSE, because we get them on an annual basis, that is very easy. So what they have recommended, which we think is the way to go, is when you have students who do not have KCSE results and they have KCPE results that you would like to admit, you give us the list with their KCPE results and then we validate. Instead of us having a database with all the KCPE results, those that have that you want to admit, give us their results, we validate, because we, for us, the most important thing and the function that we do is to validate and confirm that those students actually sat for the exam they claim to have sat for, and they got the grades that they say they have. So it's not a closed discussion, but at least as a start, give us the list and we work on that. I think the other one was a question whether all the students who applied to be placed for university were actually placed. Yes, we had 171,000 who had C+ and above that applied. That is the 85% I talked about. 76% applied for university and they were all placed. Now, previously we would place students who, as long as you had a C+ and above, you got a placement. But the last 3 years now, we have said, for you to get placed, you must apply. So all those who applied have gotten a place. I think the other one was an appreciation. Thank you very much. That doesn't come very often. For the placement of students to TVET and the release that we did before this function, the contacts that we gave. We will do the same even for university. We will provide you with the contacts of the students and their parents to be able to make a follow-up. We will release the SMSs, the results of their placement through SMSs. I think the process has started. ICT, you can confirm that? Yes, yeah, they are confirming that they are already sending the messages to the students. And at this time, we are not charging the students. Last year, they would pay, I think, 25 shillings to get the SMS. Now we are doing it for free. So they can either log into their portal and get their results, or just wait and get the SMS to know where they have been placed. Thank you very much.
All right. There was a thorough hands on that end.
Sorry, before, there's a comment from my colleague.
Thank you. I think there was a question from Mr. Paul Mwania from Kenya. But before I answer his question, I'll be very first. Let me commend the board of Kuccps and Kuccps for carrying out this exercise in a timely manner, unlike last year, where we were late to be able to fund the students. This will give us an opportunity as funding agencies, and I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Charles Ringera, who is not here, so that we can prepare in good time to fund these students. By the time they report to the universities, the funding will be ready, and all the students will be able to know how they have been funded. This will go a long way to remove the confusion that was there in the first cycle of funding the students under the new funding model. So I wish to thank the boards, the Kuccps board for doing this work diligently and giving us this opportunity. Number two, I wish to request all the institutions, including universities and TVETs, to fast track the transfer process so that when the application process starts, we have reduced number of students who will be able to transfer, either interfaculty transfers or inter-university transfers. This will reduce the pain of students who later have got to come and get their funds transferred to different institutions. So kindly let us move with speed and ensure that this is done. We will be working closely with Kuccps so that the process can be closed soon enough so that we can be able to fast track this process. Because it pains us to see students who keep on following their money from one university to another, or they were not funded properly because they changed their faculty and the new program is more expensive, especially so that they are not funded well. So kindly, our humble request is that if this can be done, then it will be very advantageous to the student, because we are all here because of the Kenyan student. Lastly, Mr. Paul Mwania, or Doctor, from Kenya, the situation still stands the same. Last year, Parliament stopped us from giving scholarships to students who were placed in private universities. However, this does not mean that these students are not funded. These students are funded through loans which are given by Higher Education Loans Board. So what actually happened is that the scholarship is what is not given to students who are placed in private universities. And this is disclosed when they are being placed by Kuccps on the website, that you will not get a scholarship. However, these students are eligible for loans from the Higher Education Loans Board. So that does not mean that the government is not funding them, because these funds are still from government. But the only amount they are not getting is a scholarship. So the government is funding students in private universities through loans, and government is funding students in public universities through loans and scholarships. That is the clarification I want to give. Thank you very much.
Well done. I'll go back to that column. There were hands there. The gentleman in a cream shirt, if I got that color right. The third row from the front. Yes, you. Thank you.
My name is Michael Muganda.
Please closer to the mic so that we can hear you.
My name is Michael Muganda, the registrar for Allied Technical Training Institute. I have two questions, one to the CEO. Previously, we used to have manual transfer for the students who are placed in another institutions, and maybe they joined another institution. But since from early this year, that's from this year January, we had an issue to do with the payment for the manual transfer. In consultation with our Kuccps contact person, they promised about to work on the issue, but till to date, we have not heard about how we go about the manual transfer. Since most of our students who normally come in as working, maybe they were placed in the other institutions. So maybe that's the first question. Maybe, and the second question, maybe to the director, TVET, Dr. Opora. How do we handle a situation whereby a trainee was placed in institution X, then joined institution Y, while maybe doing the application at the cyber cafe, maybe did a mistake and placed as a as a trainee in institution X. How can institution be able to get their fund that were attended to institution X, and yet the trainee is in institution Y? Thank you.
There was another hand in the same row. The same row, there was another hand. So kindly proceed.
Thank you. I'm Patrick Okemba from Machakos University. I'm representing the Vice Chancellor of Machakos University. And my questions actually have been partly answered. However, what is remaining on the transfers, you have not told us how far into the years you will go for the transfers. For example, will you allow the student for 2014 to do inter-university transfers, or 2019? What is the limit?
The hand behind that row, yes, please.
Hello, so I'm David from Kajiado West Technical, and mine is...
Closer to the mic, please. Closer to the mic so that we can hear.
Mine is more of a request regarding the notification that you are sending to the students. So is it possible maybe to include institution in that message? Thank you.
Right. There's a hand at the back row, in the same column.
Hello, can I go? Good morning, everyone. My name is David, first Kuccps, because I am a product of the placement of Kuccps to the university of my choice, and I'm very grateful. My question goes to, in the response of the Chief Executive Officer to the query raised by from Turkana about the locations because of challenges of internet, the CEO affirmed that they do offer open windows for late applications. So I would like the CEO to provide guidance on the challenges to access those, to access the window to do the late applications. Thank you.
Thank you. There was one last hand. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Thomas Joseph Kisukwa. I represent Kenya Medical Training College, representing my CEO. First of all, let me appreciate Kuccps because we have a new partnership with Kuccps that started in September 2023 when we placed the first batch of students to KMTC through Kuccps. We've also done for the March 2024 intake. Of course, we have challenges here and there, but I believe they're surmountable moving forward. So I have two questions. One, on the placement data. The data that you provided this morning, another participant had alluded to this, 258,935 students have been placed to the various institutions out of the 895,232 KCSE applicants. That represents 28.9% of students placed. Whereas application is at the discretion of the student, does it worry the ministry and even Kuccps themselves that only 28.9% of eligible students have been placed to the various institutions? My second question is on the question of funding. This is a very emotive issue. I believe all the students, whether they are in the Ministry of Education institutions or in institutions not under the Ministry of Education, they are Kenyan students. And therefore, on the issue of funding, probably we need to work on a legislative framework so that help then fund students in all institutions, regardless of whether they are Ministry of Education or other ministries. I'm saying this because at the Kenya Medical Training College, we work with partners to be able to secure funding for our students. Sometimes these fundings are not forthcoming, and we have to negotiate every time and again to be able to get this funding. And I believe the Higher Education Loans Board is funded by the Exchequer, specifically to fund students. So this funding, in my view, should be available to all students, regardless of whether or not they are under the Ministry of Education or other ministries. Thank you very much.
All right, I think we'll take those questions, and then from there we will come to these two columns. I'll take questions from here, then we'll proceed to the next two columns, and then we will finish, because at the end of the day, we must come to an end. So I will pick after that column. We are coming to these two columns, ask your questions, Then we'll come to these 2 columns, you ask the questions, then we shall finish and we'll call it a wrap. So, ladies and gentlemen, kindly pick the questions that have been asked.
There was a question that was asked about the funding for students who did not report. Number one, if these students did not apply, they are free to apply for first year because the funding will be available. But if they applied and the funds were already taken to the university, then their students should be able to use the funds that they applied for in first year. And then they will continuously apply for those funds as they continue to second, third, and fourth year, because the funding is based on a specific program and is based on the number of years that program, the student is supposed to undertake that program. So a student who is undertaking a 4-year program cannot be funded for 5 years. So it means if the student applied last year, did not defer, and did not use the funds, then it means those funds are still available. It means that student paid fees but did not appear in the university. However, if the student appeared and undertook their studies halfway, then it means those funds, as per the policy of the university, may have been used. So that student may have to pay for that specific year. That will be an extra payment because you did not undertake your studies as it is required. Because the government cannot fund extra year because that means you will disadvantage another student who should have been funded because the funds are not fully available for these students to continue deferring or not to go to university. Thank you. Funding to KMTC, I think this has been an issue that the funding institutions have been looking at to try and see whether we can be able to get funding from these ministries. Remember, as it was indicated by Dr. Opora, the Ministry of Education has given their budget. All these other ministries have got money in their budget for education. What they only need to do so that HELP can be able to fund them is to seed that money so that it is guaranteed that these students can be funded every year using the Higher Education Loans Board. It becomes a challenge because the ministry does not have the budget, and we can all see the ceilings that have been put by Parliament or by the National Treasury for each sector. So when you have a sector ceiling for your sector for education, where will you be able to get extra money to be able to fund other ministries when your ceiling is already set? And this is set by the National Treasury. So these other ministries should be able to seed some of the funds for education to the Higher Education Loans Board so that those funds can be used for education of their students who are in their colleges. Remember, this is a cyclic phase because once the ministry seeds money, the money goes as fees to these students, it goes back to their institutions, and then you fund other students. So over a long period of time, you create a revolving fund for your own institutions. Thank you.
There were 2 questions around transfer. On the manual transfers, I can say now we have a payment platform. Again, this is a process that was affected by the new payment mode. So we had to get a new code for transfer, with eCitizen. Now, there was a question on that transfer of a student who joined in 2014 and how far we should go. A student who was placed in 2014 should not even be in a university seeking funding, right? Yeah, they should have finished unless they are in there for a master's or another program that is self-sponsored. We cannot process a transfer for a student who was placed more than 2 years ago. So we allow them 2 years to make their changes. After that, they should settle and be able to proceed with the program. Now, in terms of notification, I was just confirming from my colleague that the messages going out have both the contact the messages going out to the students have the institutions which they have been placed, and telling them to get in touch with the institutions they have been placed, the program they have been placed for more information. So that is there, and then on the side of the institution, you have both the student's telephone number and that of their guardian or parent. For late application, I think the person who asked this was just adding to what came from the person from Turkana. For them, for those who have to make late applications, it has to be a manual application. It has to be written to the CEO requesting, giving reasons why they did not apply, and then the program which they would wish to be considered for. Just to mention, for the transfers of students, especially those who have already started a program and they want to transfer, probably they're in their second year, the process is a little tedious because we have to check with the institution so that we are not transferring trouble. The reasons for transfer, is it disciplinary? Is it school fees? And for those, we have seen those who transfer probably in their second, third year. Some of them, some of the cases that we catch are actually not genuine. The certificates are fake. So they were never in a university in the first place, and they come in and put in request as a transfer. So we are a bit vigilant on late, the transfers of advanced years. Thank you.
Right. Okay. There was a question that was asked about a student transferring from institution X to institution Y, and then how the funding going to happen. For us in the State Department, we fund a student, and the funding is to support that particular student. And for any release of funds, we must our validation from Kuccps that the student is in that institution. So if a student is transferring from one institution to another one, that transfer must go through the Kuccps, so that the Kuccps confirm to us that there have been a transfer. And if that one happens, and the institution that you have been transferred confirms, and the one that you are coming from also confirm that you have been released, then you should also be transfer of funds, because we are supporting the students. That's how we work.
Great, thank you. So I will pick questions from these two columns. Yes, please, as you follow each other.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Catherine Kagushia from Open University, acting registrar. My question goes to the CEO UF. Open University of Kenya students are sat for their KCSE in different years. So I wanted to ask what we have for them in terms of scholarship, because like the current first years did not get the scholarship based on their KCSE year. Is there a change this time, or what can we do about it? Thank you.
Thank you. The row behind you.
Yeah, my name is Esther Iregi from Aberdeen Teachers College, and I want to speak for the TTCs. We are under the Ministry of Education, but our trainees do not access either help or the scholarships. And they are as needy as the other Kenyans. We have had some of them deferring the courses because of need for fees, and we do not understand why. We had thought that when we come into Kuccps, that would be an advantage that we would get. But we are not able to access either help or the scholarships. We do not understand why, though we are under the Ministry of Education. Thank you.
Right. Yes, please.
I'm Isaac from Mandera TTC. I think one of the issues has already been raised by my colleague here about the funding. On the trainees with the special needs, I think last time there was no consideration we didn't get very clear guideline on the grading, and we really want to know this time if that has been done, because as you used to know, those with disabilities are usually considered in form of a lowered grade. Secondly, is we would like also a very clear on how to handle the walk-in going forward. Thank you.
Right, on the same row, there's a hand.
Thank you very much. This is Kiplanga John from Tharaka University, the acting registrar. About a month or two ago, the registrars, the deans, and the finance officers met with Kuccps and the UFB. We agreed that this interfaculty transfer, that is a program transfer within the institutions, was going to be handled by Kuccps. I want to ask the CEO if that is still the case. Now, these transfers are normally handled after the students report and after they have gone through orientation. So I want to know if this will be done in June or after reporting, considering that we have different reporting dates. Thank you.
Right. The row behind you, there's a hand.
Thank you so much. I'm Maricus Homo, the Deputy Principal of Ugunja TVC. First of all, I would wish to appreciate the work done by Kuccps, which is so good, and the efficiency has even improved so much by sending the Kuccps staff right to the villages, and the students are appreciating, and the stakeholder and community are appreciating so much. Thank you so much for that. My question now goes to the payments, which sometimes we, as the stakeholders, we wonder, or we fail to get the answers, but I think this is where we can get the answers. Especially when our students come, like last time when you sent staff to the institution, I'm happy that we were chosen as one of the institutions where we got a Kuccps officer coming to meet the student directly. Some students were applying the late applications, the revision cases, they paid some funds. But then after that, later again now, when the students are already placed, again we are billed. Don't you think as much as you are having that as a source of income to be a double payment? That is my concern. Where a student has paid during application or during the revision of payment of course or revision of courses, then once placed, again for each and every student, again we are billed. We would wish to hear more about that. Probably we may be lacking clarification. Thank you so much.
Right, there was a lady whose hand was up. Yes, please.
My name is Helen Machuka, Principal Quality TC. Now I wish to maybe advise Kuccps, because for some time from this year, there's quite an increase in the number of students requesting for transfers, especially those from Northeastern who are placed in Kwale. And I would advise that during placement, students are placed purely on their selections, because when now they request to go back, it becomes very difficult, and they are requesting in the middle of the year. Thank you.
All right. I will take, there's a lady next to you, and then the last hand at the back, then we can pick those questions.
Okay, thank you. My name is Dr. Lucy Ikiara from Kenya Methodist University. My question goes to the CEO at TVET. There are quite a number of private universities with TVET institutes. So I would be interested, because I've seen the allocation that was presented majorly were from the private, from public universities. What is the criteria for especially the TVET institutes in the private universities to have their capacity declared with the Kuccps so that a student can be placed in private TVET institutes?
All right, and the last one for this round, we'll pick the gentleman at the back.
My name is Father Cosmas Ragot, Vice Chancellor of Uzima University. First is a commendation and appreciation to Kuccps for a work well done. If you take into account where we are today, it's a masterpiece. Thank you for bringing us here. Second, The tag public-private concerns me a lot. Maybe this is a matter for presidential task force. I still wait to see a Kenyan student who is private or public. There is none. As we sit here, none of us is public, none of us is private. This tag, public and private, what can we do about it? Thank you.
Right, so we will take those questions. I can see there are quite a number of hands on the same row. I see 3 hands. We will pick them in the next round, I promise, in the next round of questions. Panelists, over to you.
Dr. Ofora, you want to respond? Maybe before Dr. Ofora responds, I want to take this opportunity to recognize the presence of Professor Leila. Professor Leila? Professor Leila is representing the Committee of Vice Chancellors. We have Professor Mugendi, who is in the board, who is the chair of the Vice Chancellors. He's out of the country with the CS. So we have Professor Leila sitting in for him. There was a question on the issue of disabilities. I think there was a question on students with disabilities. We place students with disabilities without, especially to KMTC, as long as they come in and they say they have disabilities, we give them first priority. The same at TVET institutions, but at the university they have to compete because the programs are very competitive, but we have a policy on affirmative action on disability. What we've seen, especially this year, a number of students have applied. I think I have a list of about 70 who have applied to be considered for affirmative action on disability. We send that information to the National Council of Persons Living with Disability for validation. And more than half of that has come back saying this, the number and the students doesn't match, meaning the students are using other people's numbers. So we have to really look at the issue of those who claim to have a disability. I think Kenyans are getting very creative. Yes, there was a recommendation that the inter-faculty transfers be done on the system to ensure that those transferring also meet the minimum cutoff. So once we open the system for transfer, we will be open for some time to allow them. We actually have not set a time because we are giving them enough time to think about it, register with the universities, get admission, then the universities can facilitate that, so we cannot close or put a date, an end date on our end, because we have to give these students enough time. There is a concern that we are billing institutions. Why we bill for application, the process that we have just finished with the students, we were billing for the services given to the students. Now we will be billing the institutions for the services that we are giving to the institutions, including this forum, the transfer process, maintaining the database, validating for you before the students can actually apply for funding, and once they have the funding, then it is an income to the university, right? So it is that process that we have to to bill because it is a service given to the university. There is a concern on why we are not open to allow students to make choices for placement into private TVET universities. We all know the genesis of placement of students to private universities. We have owners of private TVET institutions, not just the university, but the institutions that have come to us. I think that is a policy decision that as Kuccps we have to wait to be guided.
All right.
I'll take the question from Open University on funding. Just to state that students who will be admitted through this process of Kuccps to Open University will be funded. The ones who are not funded are the students who enter the Open University in a normal, like Module 2 students. Those ones are the ones who we are not funding. And it's for an obvious reason, because then we open a can of worms, because the other universities will say that even my Module 2 students will require the scholarship. So if we go that direction, then the funding that is available will not be available for these scholarships to go around the cases that we are looking at. So the students who have been admitted directly by Kuccps to Open University will be funded like any other university that is admitting students directly through the process of Kuccps. Maybe you can be able to...
Yeah, CEO, maybe you can respond. Why aren't you funding students who we have placed to teacher training colleges?
Yes, I'm going to that one. Now, teacher training college, these teacher training colleges are under basic education. And as I said earlier, it is also the same problem that we have of budget ceiling. Basic education to be able to give us funding for this cohort of students so that we can be able to factor them when it comes to funding. We don't refuse to fund anyone. The challenge we have is a funding constraint. And if a budget can be able to be allocated for these students in the budget for basic education, because these teacher training colleges are in basic education, then we'll be able to fund. I support what CEO Kuccps has talked about, interfaculty transfer. For us, we are saying if it can be done earlier, the better. But we'll wait for the students to report, and then we can be able to align accordingly. But those students should not shy away from applying for funding as they go to this university, so that their funding can be available for them when they report. But once they report, it is important that they complete that process if they want to transfer to another faculty through Kuccps. Otherwise, it becomes difficult for us to fund this new faculty in which they are if they did not go through Kuccps, because the cost of the program is, we will not be able to know the cost of the new program. Thank you.
Any comment from this side?
Thank you very much. I think the CEO Kuccps have answered partly about the placement of TVET students in private or in public universities. And there was also a question as to why they are not funded the way HELP is funding the private ones. One thing that I want to make to be very clear here is that the budget that we have for the TVET is not even enough to fund the institution that we have in the TVET themselves. So we have not had a budget enough to expand that the funding of HELP to the private institutions. That's why they are not being funded.
All right. So may I pick the three questions here? Then we will move to these two columns. There was the third row, yes. Then there's a far right, and there's Professor Leila. Those three questions. Then we will move to this side as we progress.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Kungu from Kenyatta University. Thank you, Dr. Ahome, for a very good presentation. My concern, and I think Mr. Munali mentioned it, we are here because of the Kenyan student. But when you look at the performance and it's, of our students, especially in Form 4, you realize that the failure rate is so high. And one end up asking himself, what is the real problem? I know the Ministry of Education is represented. I know NEC is not here. But it tells you that there is something terribly wrong. And we are destroying the lives of so many young people, because these are people who can't even go outside the country. We have realized that we are having more possessions than what we can be able to fill. And we know the amount of money the government is putting in training these young people. What is the real problem in the ministry? Is it the teachers, that we don't have the right teachers? Is it that as parents we are giving birth to children who can't understand education? The next one is to Dr. Okola. Thank you. I know you say that universities, we have to concentrate on our core mandate. We know the core mandate of universities is to provide quality and relevant education, training, research, and outreach. Unfortunately, why students come to the university for diplomas is because of area of specialization. We have a number of programs where we don't have any TVET college that is teaching. A good example is like theology or philosophy, or diplomacy, or even on issues to do with policy and security. And therefore, since we know we need these professionals, and students are interested at diploma level, and even borrowing from what is happening in all over the world, including universities like Harvard and others, they give diplomas. So I don't understand when we are told that this is not our core mandate. Because I think our core mandate is on providing quality and relevant education, training, research, and outreach. And this training starts from even certificate, diploma, undergraduate, master's, and even PhD. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. My name is Wesley Tanui from Kenya Highlands University. Thank you, Dr. Mercy, and the team for the good work that you've done. I have a question on the education requirement that actually, now it was changed for this cohort. I want to ask about the previous cohorts, like 2022 or 2021. Are they eligible for the same? Is it applicable so that we don't disadvantage these students in their future? Now you again say that maybe TSC is in the process of changing the regulation. Will it affect these students in one way or another in future? The second question is that about the transfer, the online transfer. A student in second year transfers online, and at the university level, you decline and say maybe the student needs to clear first, but the system end up clearing or transferring the student and give the student the transfer letter, and yet the institution declined based on those reasons. Maybe you can advise on that. And maybe for finally the funding, I wanted to know from the CEO, is there a difference? Is there an advantage for a student who is applying as a Module 2 student and a student applying through Kuccps, especially to a private university? Is there a difference in terms of funding, or they are the same? Thank you.
Right, Prof. You can use a delegate unit. Behind you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Professor Leila Abubakar. I'm the Vice Chairperson of the Vice Chancellor's Committee for Public Universities, and I'm also the Vice Chancellor of Technical University of Mombasa. Now, my question, unfortunately, is for Ringera, who's not here, but I know that Ndambuki is here representing the ministry. It's about the issue of the HELB loan. First of all, allow me also to appreciate the good work that Kuccps and the board has done in placing our students in good time. But now we have a challenge, and during the Presidential Working Party, the CEO of HELB came and we asked that question about there are Muslim students who do not access the HELB loan simply because of the issue of the interest. And this is a big number of students who, some of them are very poor, but they are not able to access this loan. And we were told at that time that there were plans to come up with a Sharia-compliant HELB facility. So I just wanted to find out how far have we gone with that facility, because again, we are placing students, and these students will not be able to apply for these loans because of their religious recommendation on the issue of interest. Another question is also on the diploma students. I want again to appreciate the affirmative action that Kuccps has done in placing many students in these TVET institutions. But these same students sometimes want to advance to go from the diploma to degree courses. Kuccps so far has not been placing these diploma students in the universities. So I just also wanted to find out, now that we have the new strategic plan, what are the strategies, or what is Kuccps thinking about the placement of diploma students to universities? Thank you.
Right, thank you. So we are going to move to these two columns, and due to we are fighting against the law of diminishing returns, let's keep our questions really short and stay to the point. So I'll pick the hand.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Kuno, Registrar Academic and Student Affairs, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology, and I bring apologies of my VC. Just two concerns. One is to Mr. Monari, the CEO UFB. The mean testing instrument was not piloted. It is highly possible that some students may have been replaced. We've come across some. One, the banding, initially during the sensitization was running from 1 to 4. Incidentally, 5 featured, and 5, remember, are those who are properly endowed. Don't you think it's high time you did some survey on how the students were misplaced? Occasionally, and I'm sure every other person may have come across some students who are told they are in 4. In fact, 4 is very common. And 4, you remember, is almost very rich. So I think my suggestion is that you do some survey to find out whether the accuracy, the level of accuracy of the mean testing instrument for that matter. Of course, you have assured us, and we are very happy that the money will come in time. Last year, we know there were teething problems, and we hope those polite letters that come saying, kindly, VCs allow the students to do exams, for sure this time they're not coming. Please, assure us of that. Number two is to Kuccps. There was a practice to simply post students who had a C+. I'm not too sure whether a stakeholder analysis was done to that, but I think it was a good practice. In Kenya, some of them are so ignorant. Remember, by the time they're applying in school, they are registering in school, they don't even have phone numbers. They're under 18. And some of them apply, do the exams using phone numbers of teachers and what. So when you are sending the SMS, he or she may not even be knowing that whose phone it was that they gave you. And so a good number of students may have had a C+, but they are not anywhere. Recently, I came across a student who had a B+ and says, I'm not even aware I should have been going somewhere. Is there a space for me? Why don't you go back, revisit, Chairman? Please revisit. You send them. If they're not comfortable with where you have sent them, they can always appeal, but send them out. Asante.
All right.
Thank you very much. My name is Kennedy Mutai from the Eldoret National Polytechnic, representing the principal. I want to appreciate first the CEO Hub for processing last year's funds for the KCSE 2022 students. They were receiving within a period of 3 weeks when they apply. I want to applaud that. I have a problem with the students which Kuccps have already sent, the KCSE 2023 group. When they want to apply for this funding, the year is not available for them to apply. You send some officers to come around, they are telling us to wait until maybe July or September. And yet these students have already been placed into our institution and they need funding. Kindly assist. Thank you.
Right. So I will pick a few more questions so that we can bring it to a close. So those two columns, there'll be a quick question before we then answer, and we will bring an end to the question sessions so that we are able to proceed. No question? In 3, 2, there's one question. Please ask your question, then we shall ask the panelists to answer, and we will close the question and answer session.
Okay, thank you. I am Barmasai Isaac, representing the Chief Principal, Kaiboi National Polytechnic. Mine is just, I don't know whether there's going to be a question, but I know we are Kenyans and we are Africans and we are very tired when there is change. Remember, we are moving from the previous capitation, and you are now going to the new funding model. We have an issue whereby we have parents and our clients who are fixated that once you are placed by Kuccps, already you are funded. So realize that once you place a student maybe in Kaiboi National, they'll be reluctant to apply for the scholarship. So I don't know whether Kuccps CEO, you are in a position so that once somebody is placed, we can do the placement. At the same time, we do the scholarship application within one shop stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'll request the panelists to address those questions, and then you will give us each 30-second parting shot as we take our seats once we are done with the questions so that we can proceed to the next part of the program. So for now, kindly respond to the questions, and then each of you will give us a 30-second parting shot, then we can make progress from there. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I missed that. I missed that. I'll make some few points first before I come to the question of those students who do not apply or are not aware of what is happening. But before I come to that, I would like to say that in our mandate as Kuccps, to advise government on issues of placement, we look at trends, how things trend in that regime of placement. For example, we have been seeing students who are qualified to go to the university, C+ and above, trend of them applying for diploma courses and TVETs. That is a trend which we like to, which concerns us. There could be justifications and there could be good reasons, but the normal way is that all those students who get the minimum requirement for applying for universities, they should actually apply to university. But that is something which it may not concern you, but we as Kuccps are concerned about it because it is something which is abnormal, because there is other things like considering the transition from secondary to university, those records and those percentages, are of concern. The other trend is where a course is very popular, like majority of applicants going to Bachelor of Education. When the CEO was presenting here, you found that the Bachelor of Education is very popular. There are many students applying for Bachelor of Education. It is true there could be justification, but it's also something which, when we are advising government, we look at why should one program become so popular. Of course there are reasons, but it's something which we may want to look at and advise government accordingly. Because you find they apply because of the numbers, maybe all of them are not absorbed. Together with a college like KMTC, this year when we started placing KMTC, we had so many applicants and the requests were so many. If you look at the numbers which were presented here by the CEO, it's about 51,000 and above, when the colleges, the 6 colleges can absorb only about 19,000. So that trend is also something which we would like to we look at. We are concerned about students who are not able to apply because they don't know. That is important to us. Like the one we are talking about from Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, that students passed the qualifications, but they don't know. They have not applied because they don't know. That is a major concern for us as Kuccps, because actually we are the one who are supposed to disseminate that information to those people, and that's why we have a whole department for career guidance, which is very elaborate, and it circulates across the country, meeting good secondary schools, in meetings and in shows and other places, to ensure that the students have all the information about application for post-secondary school training or education. So we would like to be concerned about that, and it's a very serious matter. If there's a student somewhere who passed well, he does not know what to do. There are those ones who have limitation of technology problem in areas like Turkana and the rest. Those are different because they know, but they have limitations of technology capacity. But those ones who do not know, it is a great concern to us, and we would like to understand that, because we use media, we use forums, many forums. We have even used politicians and use all sorts of systems and facilities available to get the information just to the ground. And this starts even before the results come out. And when they come out, again, we continue with that. And that's actually what I can say about that. And if there is need, you can even invite us. We even use universities as centers of disseminating that information, where we call secondary schools around there. Then we disseminate the information about the placement, including how they approach the whole program, the portal. you can do it from your mobile phone, and we teach them right there. So that's a matter which is important to us. The other one is about generally about the performance. The CEO, when she was giving the figures, he said this year the number of students who had C+ and above and against the total number of students, that is 22.2%. That is just transition. Those who transition from secondary to university. It's 22.2%. Last year, this number was 19.9%. There is a slight improvement, but also the number of students, of course, who did the KCSE also increased by a certain margin. But here, what we are saying is the international requirement or the regional figure for transitioning from secondary to university is 30%. So actually we are below that number. So that was concerned you because you are dealing with those ones who already passed the secondary, but I think it is also a matter which we are concerned about because we like this number to improve. That is the secondary school, the tuition in the secondary school, so that we can have students, about 30% of the total who sit for KCSE are able to make it to the university. Then there is another issue, and I'm almost making my last short, is that there is a small group of students, like the one which he has mentioned, the lost students. That is, the students who do not, we place 76%. There's a group which does not apply, and that's the same I'm talking about, the same one again. That lost number, we are concerned about it, and I think I've already talked about it. Finally, it's about those students who do not apply because they cannot afford. This one, I think we should encourage students who pass to apply, even for those courses, even if however they cost. Because it is better to have a place in an institution and then you are asking for or looking for money than when you have not applied. In this country, there are a number of facilities which are available. There are some counties which have got money from county who have set a budget aside to help students who have been admitted to the universities. The members of parliament in some constituencies have money, and I've seen some actually issuing checks for university students, all those who are going to university. Even MCAs in some places. So we should encourage all students who make it, whether they are going to TVETs or they are going to the university, to just apply. We don't want to have students who are passed and say, since I cannot afford, or when I went to the portal, I found the courses were very expensive, I cannot afford, so I'm not going to apply. No, we should encourage students to apply even when they cannot afford, and when they reach there, then they would see how they cross the bridge. And it is possible with the leaders whom we have, and all sorts of scholarship available, including institutions like banks and other institutions who facilitate post-secondary school learning. So then the last one, which is important to us as Kuccps, is waste. Waste is your students, they get lost, they don't complete. There is a number which get lost in the university. We are concerned about that. Not about funding and anything, but as placement agency, we would like to know what is the level of waste in the university or post-secondary learning and training, so that we find out why. It will form a basis of a policy decision or some kind of help of some kind. There are many reasons, of course, and you know them yourselves. So we are also concerned about that because we place students, they went to the university, they went to TVET, but then they don't finish for reasons maybe which are not being well coordinated to understand what is the numbers and generally what is the reason for the waste. So with those remarks, I think I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have two issues to respond to from the questions from the plenary. I want to start from the students in the TVET who are applying for funding. In the old model, we had capitation pegged at 30,000 and we had HELB loan at 26,400. During that time, for those students for capitation, the student did not have to apply for capitation, but he had to apply for the HELB loan to supplement what remains. In the new funding model, the student must apply both for the scholarship and also for the HELB loan, because some students may not need scholarship, or neither may they don't need the HELB loan. If you don't apply for the HELB, you don't apply for scholarship, it means you are rich enough and you can be able to take care for yourself. And if you apply for HELB alone, it means that you don't need scholarship. So it's upon the student to apply both if the need, it's about your needs. The second one I would want to respond is an issue that comes from the Presidential Working Party on education reforms, where all stakeholders were involved. It is this report that gave the government a recommendation on which courses should be at which level. And it was very clear on the courses that should be in the TVET and the one that should be the university. So it is not a debate. It is what's already in that report, and it's being implemented 100%. Lastly, I want to say that in the TVET sector, we are now implementing competence-based education training, where our curriculum, we involve the industry from developing the occupational standards, going into the curriculum development, the implementation of the same curriculum, industry is involved, and also assessment, the industry is involved, to ensure that the products that come out from the TVET are competent enough to create jobs or do gainful employment. And one key program that we have now in TVET is a dual training, where more than 50% of the child or the student is done in the industry and the rest in the institution, making TVET very responsive to the needs of the industry and the economy. And because of that, we have seen many students coming to join the TVET sector. And I just want those who do not know, they should understand that TVETs provide those kind of competencies, and most of our students, once they have completed, some of them even, when they are still on attachment, they remain there. They remain there because industry are saying, this is what we want. Those who are doing the dual training. And those who have left, those who are not employed, they can do something very good because they have those skills and they are able to work very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I was the listening ear for the board. We have heard about the issues raised, especially for the lost students, for the students who miss out in other matters. I've been jotting them down, and I hope that our Kuccps staff have been doing that. We'll address them during the board. They are important. You are important. We actually are your servants as the board to ensure that every student gets opportunities. We have also been now working with the secondary schools, and That feedback is extremely important because we feel that maybe we have not reached all the schools, or maybe the response after we train the career guidance and have stakeholder engagements, maybe they do not follow them. So I think we are going to deal with it very candidly so that no one shall be lost. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will. The first issue is the issue of what is the difference between applying when you are a private student or directly. I think this is this question gives variety to the student in terms of it gives an opportunity to the student to have a 360 view of the available opportunities, and that is why Kuccps is there to align careers. It gives a student an opportunity to be able to walk through all the universities on a website and know what are the available careers and what and how much does it cost for these careers, for you to pursue these careers. So the advantage of going to the Kuccps website is that it gives you that advantage, and it will align your careers based on how you performed in your KCSE exam. So that gives you a very huge advantage, unlike a student who just decides to go to one university and has got a choice of the programs that are there. That's why we encourage universities, or I mean students, to go through Kuccps so that they are placed based on their career alignment. And you can see on their website that is what it says. Number two, I'll want to talk about the means instrument, testing instrument that Dr. Akuno has talked about. This is a continuous process of improvement. As you rightly said, initially it came out of, in terms of 4 bands. And you remember this was actually not good because it was giving people, it was profiling Kenyans in terms of where they were. So this was revised to a 5th band. And we will continuously review these means testing instruments so that we can be able to fit it to what we can be able to fit and ensure that the Kenyans are served properly and are funded properly. However, I want to say 2 things. The means testing instrument also has to fit with the available budget that is there so that we can be able, if we had limitless money, then we could move everyone from band 4 to 1. So we have got a budget that tells us even if we wanted to fund these students as much as possible, we can't move or we can't fund them as much money as we would have wished. So we fit the means testing instrument to the available funding. Number 2, any student, and I'm glad Dr. Akuno, with your experience, you know any student who you feel strongly and any dean feels strongly has got a chance to appeal, either for the scholarship or for the loan. And the deans have got that huge responsibility to advise the funding agencies that these students, I strongly feel that they were placed in band 4. And because they are the ones who can see the students, they interact with the student. So kindly help us so that we can be able to place these students appropriately. When I come to the issue of TVET for 2022, that has already been funded. For 2023 is not available because we all know the budget is with the parliament right now. We are still giving our views so that we can know how much we can be able to allocate for TVET. If we go ahead and allocate or give that facility now, and we don't have money in July, how will we be able to fund? So my brother, I appreciate your concern, but you know there are these other processes that guide us in terms of funding. And once that process is done, that is why we talked of July, then we can be able to come up and give that facility, and then immediately we will be able to fund. On the issue of timely issuance of money, we will try our best. And that's why we want to do this process in good time so that you can get the results of how these students have been funded. So that, and we are in the same government and in the same country, so that you allow these students to continue their studies. As we tirelessly look for these funds, Some of us, when we got these jobs, we had a lot of hair, but we have lost that hair because of looking for money. So one thing you know is that the government will ensure to pay you. It is like a promissory note which is guaranteed you'll receive the funds. So let us give these students an easy time in not looking for the money, because you are sure the government will pay. Sometimes they may be slightly late because we are also collecting taxes, but one thing you are sure is that this money will come. So let us work together so that we make the life of our students, because these are our brothers, our children who are in the TVETs or universities. Once you get that allocation, you know the money will come at a given time, and you are sure that the government will be able to pay for these funds. My last remarks, as I conclude the 30 seconds that I was given, before that is the one for Muslim students. I know Professor Laila is that HELB is working tirelessly to ensure that they get a facility for Muslim students, because we cannot wish away about 40% of our population in Kenya who are Muslims between 30 and 40, who are currently not able to access the loans. What I'm glad about is that they are able to access the scholarships, and with the scholarships, this can be able to assist them. The problem we currently have is the loans, and HELB has been working with various stakeholders to see whether they can get a special fund for them so that they can be able to get it. I know if Charles was here, he would have said the same thing, and the ministry is aware about this, so that these students, these brothers and sisters of ours, can be able to benefit from this facility because of faith. Lastly is the issue of the application of funds. I wish to request all of us who are here, when the students are applying for these funds, please urge them to go to our Huduma centers or use your facilities in the universities. We are finding a problem, and that is why maybe Dr. Akuno also talked about many students being banded in one band, is because there is a lot of similarity in terms of the ways the students apply. If you go to my village, somewhere called Gesima, most of the students in TVET and university, if you look at the applications, they are the same. And why is this the same? Because they go to the local cyber cafe, give that person 1,000 and tell him, these are my documents, fill for me the form. So that guy, even sometimes you find the email address they use is theirs, because the student walked away with the parent. They'll come back in the evening to collect and ask, did you fill for me? They say yes. So that student, those cyber cafes, what we have realized, they have a template. They feel the same way, because in them, they themselves, they believe that is how you'll be able to get a loan or a scholarship. So we are urging you, let these students feel their particulars, the way their status or household status is. They should not allow strangers, because these are strangers who don't know them, to feel for them their status. And that's why you find that people coming from one area get the same facility, and then they wonder what happened. But they don't remember that the same person filled for them the same application form. So let them use your facilities in the universities or colleges, or they use the Huduma centers. But urge them to fill their forms independently and correctly. That is one thing that we have found is a problem, and we need to ensure that these people are helped, because if they fill them the way they are, then they'll be able to get their scholarship and loans based on their level of need. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I'll go ahead, and the chief guest will be the last to make his remarks. Because once the chief guest talks, you forever hold your peace. So I want to really take this opportunity, or before I do that, I want to respond to the suggestion on application while the students are in school, making their choices. That was a policy direction where we were directed to allow the students to get their results first, and then they can make their choices. We actually did not see a difference in application, when we look at how they were applying before and when we opened the system, the first time they applied, actually for university, we had over 110,000 students applying. So we cannot scientifically say that the lack of application while in school made a difference in terms of the number. It may have made a difference in terms of choices, students not interacting with the teachers and getting guided on the choices to make. But again, when we look at the number of students who, the category that we say were unsuccessful, the number went down significantly. Those that we later consider for sharing, I think last year we had almost, Dr. Oluoch, almost more than 10,000 for sharing. This time we shared very, very few students. And you'll see that even from the lists that we will send you, which means, again, the number of students, the list of students that you have, those are actual, your true students. Some years back, you would get a list of almost 1,000 students who are shared, and they don't report. So when you have that category almost coming to zero, it means the students you have are your true students. So with that, I want to really take this opportunity to thank you. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be making this presentation if we didn't get support from each of your institutions, especially those that opened their doors and allowed us to use your facilities as revision centers. You assigned your staff to be placement officers. We really thank you. We appreciate the partnership. We also ask that you allow us to work with you on career guidance. A number of the institutions here again have partnered with us to do what we call open days, where we allow the students from secondary schools to come into your institutions. They interact with your students, and therefore there's some level of peer guidance. The students get to see what a university or a TVET institution looks like. They are able to, kind of have an idea of what, when they choose certain courses, what really that means. So we are requesting that we continue with that partnerships. We do as many open days as we can, because that way we have seen we are able to reach to many, many schools. Lastly, I wish to request that we honor our invoices so that you're able to find us here tomorrow, so that we are able to serve you and to implement the strategic plan that we have launched today. With that, I wish you well, and I invite you for lunch. I think we have lunch upstairs. Please join us as we celebrate together. So at this point, I want to give the chief guest an opportunity to also have his 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wahome. Panelists and participants, I think today was a great day for all of us, and particularly for the plenary session. What I've been able to gather was that actually for us in the Ministry of Education, it was a feedback from you, the stakeholders, on the programs we are trying to put across on education sector. And that, on top of what has been said, our position as a ministry is to ensure that we are giving the best in terms of education, right from the basic levels, tertiary up to university education. And I want to appreciate all the stakeholders, because as we initiated the reforms in the education sector, all of us, even the way we are seated here, did participate and also did support the government and the ministry in rolling out on all the agenda items in the reforms. And today, when we look back, we are making a very good progress in making education affordable to all Kenyan students and also accessible to all. That is very key in as far as the Ministry of Education is concerned. And I think we have been able to do this in so many ways, which all of you know, and we will continue improving on this so that every other Kenyan student is able to access education wherever one is, and for that matter, quality education. That is our focus at all levels, so that at the end of the day, when all the students are able to go through our education system, then we can be able to say, yes, these are graduates from our universities, from our TVETs, who are qualified and have the necessary skills to be able to really engage and join us in nation building. So we want to be able to say that we could do everything possible to be able to make sure that our education remains of quality, of world class, so that the graduates we are releasing to the market will be able to be useful in the industry, in our economy, and even beyond Kenya, because we are looking at opportunities within and even without. And it's through that quality education that can be able to enable our graduates to be able to access these opportunities wherever they are. So we appreciate the feedback we have been able to get in this kind of plenary interaction, and we'll be able to do everything possible to be able to improve on every aspect, as having been raised by every other speaker and all those who were able to ask those questions. Otherwise, we appreciate and we want to wish you all the very best, and thank you all, those who were able to organize this event. It has been a success, and I don't want to forget also our host, who has meant it possible for all of us to be able to enjoy our stay here since the beginning of our event today. We say thank you very much, and I'm sure all of us will not hesitate if you are invited back to this facility for another event. We say thank you, all of us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for our panelists for a job well done. I will request that we assume our seats as I give you directions for the next part of the program. Kindly take your seats. Thank you for tackling those many questions in a satisfactory manner. And ladies and gentlemen, wageni wa Mswahili alisema ya kwamba ngoma ikipigwa sana hufanya nini? Hupasuka. Akaongeza akasema kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na nini? Na mwisho. Hakumalizia hapo, akaongeza akasema cha mkufuu mwalafu ha na akila hu. That was just to show you that it was good in Swahili. It has no value to this conversation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 3 categories of people that we have. Category 1, there are those who have food, but they have no appetite. Category 2, they have appetite, but they have no food. Category 3 are those who are blessed to have both the food and the appetite. I assure you, courtesy of the 1,500 application fee that a stakeholder agitated to revise downwards, courtesy of that 1,500, we have the food. And I pray that you have the appetite. So ladies and gentlemen, from here we will proceed to 8th floor, where Dr. Kajwang has organized a sumptuous meal for all of us, courtesy of Kuccps. And I wish to particularly thank the team that put this together, led by the indefatigable Dr. John Olwoch. I will request that he stands and just waves. We have worked hand in hand with him. We have been going home very late hours. So at this point in time, I will request that we all rise for the closing national anthem and the East African anthem. And then I will request Professor Reverend Cosmas Ragot to come up front to offer the closing word of prayer. And from here we will ascend to 8th floor, where we will have our lunch. If there be any question that has not been addressed, we have the Kuccps fraternity. Whoever you think is best placed to address your question, this is the time during the lunch break as Professor approaches up front for the national anthem and the East African anthem and the closing prayer. My name is Chris Mureithi. I have been your moderator for today, and thank you for being an engaging audience. Till next time, God bless you all. Thank you.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. O God, our loving Father, we have every reason to thank you for the gift of this day. We have met here since morning to deliberate on very important issues, having been called here by Kuccps, that does an important job for the education of our country. We thank you for the gift of who they are. We want to thank you also for the representative that came to represent the CS of Education, Frederick Ndambuki, our guest of honor. We want to thank you for the board of Kuccps, led by Cyrus, and all the members of the board. We want to thank you for the University Funding Board, led by Geoffrey. We want to thank you, Lord, for help. And we want to thank you for all the vice chancellors of our universities. We want to thank you for the principals of our colleges and all the representatives that are here for their institutions. We have met, we have shared matters education for our country. May you bless, O Lord, we pray, all the deliberations that we have shared today. And may they build our education sector. And as we live here, going back to our respective institutions, may you bless each one of us with journey mercies, so that your name may be glorified in our lives, and that we may build your kingdom in these institutions that you have chosen us to lead, for the glory of your name and for the building of your kingdom. We ask this through the powerful prayer of our Lord, as we hold our hands together and say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. May I ask Professor Stephen to come forward and we bless together. Professor. The Lord be with you, and may the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit come down upon you and remain with you both now and forever. Amen. Thank you.
Eighth floor.